It's not hard to go. There are plenty of places where you don't tip, where you don't have a waiter. Order food. Make your own, lazy ass. So that begs the question. And that's the question for tonight. And I'll give you my opinion, and we'll go from there. Should we have tipping in the United States or in Western cultures that do? A lot don't. Even the UK doesn't really. I lived in Scotland, as anybody that listens to the show knows, for a while, a couple of years, and it was very confusing. Some of them expected it, some of them didn't. It was very weird. I think some of them might, because I was American, they're like, yes, and some included it. What do you think? In the United States, should it be tipping? Because what happens is, and I did it, I only did it for about 3 months, bartended, and it was, you get $2.46. Welcome to Stay in the Gray podcast. We explore news that gets people talking by blending comedy and controversy.
Feel the banner, feel the word, shadow screams Butthurt.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Trey. Together we dive into tough topics with a combination of humor and some insight.
So join us as we navigate the gray areas of the world and engaging in real conversation.
Come get to know us.
All right. Hey, everybody. How are you on this lovely evening or morning? I say it a lot, but I don't know where the hell you are. So I hope everything's going well, whatever time of day that may be. Today is January the 6th, 2025. You know what we're going to talk about. I'll get there. Hope everybody's well. Tonight, I think this might be the last one of these that I'm going to do. I'm going to find something else. Basically, these are the headlines that made it through editing, and it's simple. They just made it through editing. There's a typo that makes the sentence sound bad. So I had fun with it for a while, but it's getting a little old. But this one's a great one to end in this series on. It says, lack of brains hinders research. I imagine what they meant was, for brain research, maybe the lack of actual brains hindered what they were trying to research. But a lack of brains in other ways might hinder it as well. So who knows what this guy was trying to say, or girl. I'm gonna switch it up. Instead of going to butthurt comments to the show, because tonight's are funny. It's more of a funny thing tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and play you this video in honor of January the 6th and just cut right to the chase. I have a lot of topics tonight, but they're quick. Not one long one. We'll see. I'm not sure. Who knows what's gonna happen when I'm behind the mic. But I'm gonna get right to this January 6th narrative that a lot of people have about Donald Trump inciting, is the word they use, violence and trying to overthrow the government and not cooperating in a peaceful transfer of power. And I have a huge problem with it. There's no proof. There's nothing that at all. They haven't got him on anything, or else he would have been charged and likely convicted the way how ruthless they are going after this man for everything else. But those that still believe he was behind it all, I just challenge you. You know what? Let me play this clip. I've got a clip, and it's gonna actually play the point of view that's not mine. So I'm gonna do the opposite view tonight. I always do my own and laugh with whoever's speaking. Tonight I'm gonna play. This is Jon Stewart, and most people know who he is. And he kind of went off about it, and this was back, I think, in September or October. So what he's saying there, it's kind of interesting, the things that have come to fruition since then. He was, of course, still plugging away at the election and trying to prevent Donald from getting elected. But this video just, it irks me. It's everything wrong with this narrative. So let me play it for you so we can talk about it. Here we go.
You spent 2 months riling up your base that our country had literally been stolen from them through fraudulent means, that you could never even get a whiff of in a court of law, and let yourself just abuse them. You pressed on. You abused their trust. You showed up for a speech. You fucking tweeted, join me on January 6th. It will be wild. But suddenly now, I was just a hired magician, did a bar mitzvah. I didn't do anything. I showed up with a hat and a rabbit, and then the whole party went out of control.
Yeah, not your best work, John. It was fucking stupid. It was ridiculous, the whole thing. Everything. I'll point out specifically the highlighted part that you probably saw over here, maybe up here. But it was a highlighted part, and in the part where he said, you know, it's going to be wild. Since when is saying, I mean, I texted that to my buddies the other day, but we're going to play golf, it's going to be wild. Or, you know, this football game, man, it's wild. How does that? It's just that they go looking for it. It's just like, John, you're better than that. I respect you for your some of your comedy and some of your insight, but this is, you know, I hope someone's writing this shit for you because it's really bad. The idea that he used us and that he this and that and whatever else. Let me tell you something, people. If Donald Trump wanted to incite violence and some sort of insurrection on January 6, 2024, it would have been a fucking hell of a lot more than what it was. It was nothing. One person died, and they were shot by a Democrat in the back. It was a Republican. Since then, there have been leaks of FBI that have, I've got it right here, FBI letting people in to the premises. FBI operatives coordinating before it all happened, right there. All of them were there. Like 25 of them were there just before it all happened. The famous video of Nancy Pelosi in the van claiming that she was the one that was responsible. And of course, you know, people have twisted that around and claimed this and that and whatever, and there's been a debate about it. And I won't be what I hate, which is somebody that makes a factual statement off of something that isn't been proven fact. But it was right there, recorded. It was Nancy Pelosi. So my point is you cannot let me try this again. You cannot self-convict a man just because you want it to be true. And that's what's happened here. They've taken this January 6th thing and they've made it out. It was a shitty day. You think I'm defending the majority of the people? Now, if they were let in and they're running around and they literally were having a good time, you know, whatever. Should they have been there? No, whatever, you know. But anybody that was violent or had violence on their mind need to be called out for that. I don't think that was the case. I really don't. And you would have... Again, you're talking about the side that has all the weapons, that has all the guns. There were no guns. You don't think if people were going to go there to do something that they would have brought weapons. It's beyond me that you people still think this was planned and it was going to be this beautiful thing with 1,000 people. Come on. You look stupid. Use your head. It's ridiculous. So... you know, the other thing, he's talking about riling up his base. He's riling up his support. What else is he going to do? What is Kamala, what is Biden and all these? What's the left done? Except they've done it by saying fascist, which isn't true. They need to look in the mirror. Racist, sexist, the Trump cases. He's a felon. Hitler. Democracy, which they really need to look in the mirror about by appointing Kamala Harris without an election or without a primary. So don't talk about riling up any base Joe, because if anybody is that, well, it's the other side. So I will move on from that, but that's it for January 6th. That's all I want to say. I just want you to realize that anytime you hear this bullshit, really think about it. If Donald wanted this to happen, if his supporters wanted something grandiose to happen, it would have happened in a far bigger scale than this. Anyway. Let's move on. Let's go to Butthurt comments. This is actually pretty funny. And I question the intellect of some people, and then I stop and realize that some people just might not have the ability to read written word on the computer, on the internet, and social media, and to understand humor and to understand the sarcasm, and I get that, but this one's pretty bad, and so I enjoyed it, and I hope any of you that saw all these comments. It was one of my biggest posts. I mean, it came into like 100,000 views, and lots of people liked it. But it was a parody of AOC, the lovely Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, whatever her name is, who I think probably shouldn't be in politics. She's not the brightest bulb in the pack, as I stumble on that. Maybe I'm not the brightest bulb, but I'm also not claiming to be a politician. But it's her and Elon together. And when I say together, I don't mean literally together. I mean they're sitting there and the camera goes back and forth, back and forth. They've been doing that stunt since easily the 90s. In the background, it's like a totally different background. It's not meant to look 100% authentic and real, and like they're sitting there together. And they're talking. The way the caption works is they took pieces of what each person said, and they pieced it together to make it seem like there was some romance there. AOC, Elon Musk, she said, that we're breaking all the rules, and he goes, I won't tell if you don't, things like that, and it was pretty funny. I thought so. If you don't, fine, go find another podcast. It's dull, but what got me here, and I tried to just respond calmly. But I got some pretty good ones. The making of Model 13. A couple of liberals. She's so pretty. Okay, well, that's what you look for in a congresswoman. Power couple. Okay, I hope that's meant to be funny, but I don't know. People are serious here. She loves Elon's net worth. Okay. God is cleaning up the swamp, love and light, whatever that means. What is this? Bartender that brings nothing to the table. Well, so that's funny. Sadly, I agree. AOC swinging in a tree. She wants Musk, but it can't be. People are rhyming. I love it. Thank you for that rhyme. I will heart it for you. It's probably been a long time since she's seen and talked to honesty. Okay, so you're getting people that are BS. Well, these are the ones that are funny. The BS. Where's the other one? There's a couple of them. Shouldn't have. This isn't true. Well, no shit. I'm sorry, I had it up. What the fuck is a response? Elon's real. She's all AI shit. Thank you for sharing that. No one knew this was not real. This is all AI. This is bullshit, fake AI. This is lies. Fake. How dare you? She's a gold digger. No. She's totally fucking him. Okay. You know what? She could be. But the point is that I had so many people that were like, this is so stupid. This is bullshit. This isn't true. How dare you? It's AI. Yes, it is. It's called a parody. It's called comedy. And yes, in fact, it is not real. I hope that I have not started, or the other people on social media that have probably passed this around like I have, we're not starting some sort of rumor and that's going to catch a lot of steam. I think most of the people can probably guess this is not true. So that was my butthurt comments. It's not really butthurt, but it's kind of like, maybe you should get off of social media if like you're going to think this is true. But you know what? AOC looks good in this video. So I think Elon maybe has a little sparkle in his eye for good old AOC. So we'll move on from that. Let's go ahead and I've got some really good news. Let's do it. I say really good news. It's good enough. And it was funny to me and interesting to me. So I'm going to share it with you. Veterinarians have now come together and they're concerned by the increasing number of pets that are on cocaine. Admittedly, that headline got my attention. Now, of course, what they mean is the Pet Poison Hotline, PPH, as it's known, kind of did an experiment based on the call rates for these types of incidents, these types of calls with the side effects and with side effects of drugs with their pets. And it's all pets, not just dogs. I keep thinking dogs, but dogs and cats. I'm not sure. I wish there was a list of all the different animals that were were on coke when these calls were made. But they just said it was a real heavy increase since 2019. Cats are 52% rise in cocaine usage. Dogs are 39% rise in the white powder. And reason is simple. 1.8% of the people in this country are on coke. I'll do the quick math. That's about 6 million people. It's a lot of people. I know there's almost 335 million people in this country, but that's a lot of people. 6 million people. 0.9 are on meth, and that's almost 3 million. That's just a little over 3 million people. Goodness gracious. It puts things in perspective, but what it also is doing is making our pets drugged out as well. So they think that it was during COVID that it spiked because you were home and people had more of the drugs there, more of an opportunity for the pet to get in, et cetera, et cetera. But people, don't let your pets get a hold of your drugs. It's not made for them. This is not ending well for dogs and cats. Dogs that go to a vet on coke don't do very well. Especially cats. Can you imagine? But apparently coke is a drug of choice for these pets because that's the largest one. I think it's probably just the easiest one for them to kind of inhale, and that's what happens. And they get all. I'd love to see certain dogs on coke. Maybe that's the problem with some of the stories that Trey and I used to do about dogs attacking their owners and little weenie dogs killing ladies. It's the coke. Blame the coke. So I just thought that was funny. I'm going to give you a couple of, it got me thinking about animals and how long they live, because I'm sitting there going, well, dogs don't live very long. Cats a little longer maybe. So I came across this, and this is interesting. Here are a couple of animals that don't live very long at all, and it's interesting to me. So I'm going to see if it's interesting to you, and maybe it's not. Who gives a shit? And you can hit on the timestamp to the next topic, which I guarantee you that you'll enjoy. Sparrows and other small birds, but mostly sparrows, make it 3 years. Okay, basic. It's not a long time, but for a fucking bird, it's all right. Good for you. Mice, only a year, 12 months for mice and other mice-like creatures. Again, that changes if you're in the complete wild, because a lot of mice, the way nature has it, has made you food for larger animals like birds of prey and other larger mammals in the woods. Here's where it gets fun. Labirds or labords, I'm not sure what that is, chameleon, they only make it 3 months. And they are in western Madagascar. So they're over there on that island on the east side of Africa. And it's the shortest living of the reptiles. Apparently it's 2 months to grow to sexual maturity. A lot of people I know only take a couple months. And then the final month is it's mating. That's all it is. So that's the labord chameleon. Here we go. Let's get fun. The 7-figure pygmy gabby. This is just a fish, people. It's about yay big. It says it's 1 inch long. Too many jokes there about 1 inch, but it only lasts 2 months, and it's on the reefs in the Western Pacific. It's about 59 days average lifespan, and 3 weeks in the larva, 2 weeks finding a place to settle. That seems like a waste of time if you only have 59 days. 14 of them, you're just trying to find a nice little place to be settled in. For the remaining 3 weeks, where you're looking to mate and reproduce. Simple as that. The drone ant. So this one's hilarious, all right? The drone ant only lasts 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But the queen ant lasts 15 years. And the females, 7 years. So the drone ants, like the males, only lasted 2 weeks. Literally, according to experts on ants, and I'm sure entomologists abroad, the whole purpose of this ant is to basically bang the queen over and over again and reproduce. And then once they're out of steam, I guess that's about 2 weeks, they die because they're no longer needed, because the next set of males will come in, take care of the queen, and move on from there. The next is the Luna moth. Now, I've seen these around, and they're very pretty. Like they're kind of the green, yellowish, clear wings, and I'm not sure what this is. If anybody's not watching, I'm kind of slowly flapping my wings. But they're in North America, and so in the wintertime, they're in their cocoon. After that, they usually come out in the spring, and they have 1 week to live. And like most of these other ones, their whole purpose is to mate, reproduce, so that somebody else can come out and have a week to mate, come out. And, I just feel like that's not a lot of time. It's, it takes a lot of dudes a while to get laid sometimes, unless you're, I was going to say unless you're married, but it's even longer sometimes. It says it's the adult moths don't even have mouths because they don't need to eat, because they will die before they need any food. They're literally out for fornication. That's it. Their whole life is just about banging and tapping that. So good for them. And every Luna moth I see, I will encourage on its journey to mount or whatever they do. The second to last one is a gastrorich, which is like a microscopic cylindrical creature. See what I did there? It's like a little worm, I guess. And they're very, very tiny, as the word microscopic insinuates. 10 days. They're also known as hairy bellies, and they live in both fresh and salt water. But these guys are vital for healthy water ecosystem. So a lot of people are like, well, this is their purpose. They are alive for 10 days. They eat bacteria and algae, and otherwise, bacteria and algae would be out of control. So good job for these guys, but they only have 10 days to do that. Lastly, this is sad. The adult mayfly. All right. The adult female mayfly only lasts 5 minutes, people. The male can last up to an hour. He has an hour of life. Specifically, the American sand-burrowing mayfly. Males 1 hour after emerging from their larva/cocoon. They're not cocoon. They're not a butterfly. So I'm going to go with larva. Entomologist, correct me if I'm wrong. Females 5 minutes after they get out of their larva. And the interesting part is that they spend 2 years in the ground as nymphs before coming out, only to last 5 minutes if you're female. So can you imagine that? The whole purpose, though, is you're supposed to mate. So can you imagine coming out and it's just like, we got to go. We got to get rolling. There's no time for foreplay. There's no time to buy you a drink. I got 5 minutes. Let's roll. Immediately. No condom. Let's go. Some might think that's great, but man, 5 minutes. That's it. So when you see those lovely mayflies, just remember this fact and talk about it at your next event. All right. Let's talk about an entrepreneur that, I don't know how she did this, thought of this, or more so how she's doing as well as she's doing, because I don't feel like, let's see what you think. Okay, this is a Polish woman named Aleksandra Kasperek. Kasperek? Sounds better, Kasperek. And she opened a professional cuddling salon. So, literally, I'm using the word literally, you come in and you get to cuddle, canoodle, hug, whatever you want to call it. And it's called professional, but it's so popular now that it's waitlisted. I mean, people can't even get into this to see her. And I didn't see if she had a bunch of staff members that were a part of this. It was just her. The only pictures I saw with her. And guess what? She's a fairly attractive woman. So I don't know what's happening. It just so happens, and I'm pretty sure this is why the story was out today. It is National Cuddle Up Day. Everybody, January the 6th. And I think they interviewed Aleksandra Kasperek because she's the closest thing to a business that has to do with cuddling. So it opened 2 years ago, and it's called Ania od Przychylania. Sure, that's perfect Polish. It's usually age 40 to 60, and they're mostly men. Shocked. And so the regulars come in once a week usually once a week, for mostly hour-long sessions. I don't understand. Do you lay there and just lay in her arms? Do you hold hands and just lay on the bed and spoon? But here we go. It's basically a G-rated bordello. Okay? So snuggle instead of sex. Think of it that way. This is the process. You enter. You handshake. Then you introduce yourself with a flirty hug in the teddy bear position. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what the fuck the teddy bear position is for hugging. I'm assuming that what it sounds like is that you sit down with each other like some sort of yoga pose or some sort of tantric pose and give each other a hug with legs wrapped around one another. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what a teddy bear, that's what I thought of. These rules are tough. In fact, the rules are then given. She listens to what you have to say about yourself mentally, what medications you're on, how you feel, whether you're ill, all of these things. If you're depressed, if you're stressed, and then she gives you a certain rule book based on those answers. I don't know. I need to get my hands on one of these rule books. But the biggest one is, of course, you cannot cross sexual boundaries. That is an absolute no-no. It will be immediately terminated and you're out. She can just tease you, I guess, the entire time. And some of the pictures I saw, just like stroking arms and just like in this little lingerie. And I'm just like, okay, so this is a hour tease session, basically, for most men. It would be for me. But then the client changes into a robe after he gets his rule book, and I'm assuming he might have a second to read it. The average is about $37, translated to dollars, per hour, $72 for 2 hours in her establishment. So you get $2 off if you get $2 off if you get that second hour. Go for it. And she says she acts, there we go, as a psychologist also. So she listens to everything. So part of the hour is a cuddle and therapy. If you need to vent or she'll listen to you. How nice. So listen to the description of these rooms and tell me exactly what I'm thinking here. Picture this. A royal type room, like royalty. It's dark. There's a lit fireplace. A hydro massage shower. Luxurious bathtub. There's tea, coffee, hot chocolate, champagne, strawberries. This sounds like a bang pad. I mean, it really does. This does not sound like some sort of cuddle station where you're not allowed to cross the line. You're fucking out the door. What's the line? I'm telling you, in these pictures, she's stroking guys. I mean, she's essentially just teasing. I would just ask. Tell me you need to be more specific. Maybe it's in that rule book. But I just visualize this room and this hot woman, and she's sitting there and whatever, and you're supposed to just like lay there. Why would I want to pay money to do that? Well, I mean, why would I want to pay money for anything? Because I'm a happily married man, but you know what I'm saying. I thought that was a good story. What's not a good story is, for whatever reason, I came across, and I jumped real fast from one to the other, trying to do a quick show. There was an article about tipping, an article about waitress, the food industry and the bartending and that type of industry, and how it's difficult to make good money doing that. In some cases, and you go home every day not knowing what you're going to have financially, and it's difficult to pay your bills and your rent, and to live not knowing what you're going to have each given day, much less week or month. And then I came across articles, after Donald Trump said, no tax on tips, and which I believe he'll probably try and do. It makes sense. I went and I read this article and a bunch of examples of just absolute assholes. And it really, really pisses me off to read the treatment that these waiters and waitresses and bartenders get in this industry. And sure, I'm sure there's some jackasses, and I'm sure there's some in everything there is. But it's usually these poor, not poor literally, but like these poor waitresses that have had a long shift and they're just trying to make $6 off your damn meal that you have that you can barely afford. and they're just trying to live, and then you're gonna be a piece of shit. Let me give you some examples and see if you guys agree that this is just scum of the earth. First off, some people put the tip in the water glass at the bottom under the remaining lemon and ice. That was one. A lot of these are what they think are clever phrases in the tip section of a receipt. And this one said, please get faster cooks, and they left 2 cents. The cooks have nothing to do with your waitress. The restaurant policy has nothing to do with your waitress. She deserves a tip, regardless of how fast you got your food. If she forgot to put it in, then possibly there's something, some argument you have. But why are you going to be an asshole? It gets me already. How about this one? Somebody just wrote in careerbuilder.com and 0 tip. That's a career. Many people do this as their livelihood, you prick. I guarantee you the person that wrote that in there is probably not making that much more. Needed to feel good about themselves. So they wrote in careerbuilder.com on a waitress tip line. The next one, I would tip, but I'm on a budget for a $5 check. Okay, fair enough. $5 check, that's not a lot. But guess what? If she served you as a waitress for an hour estimate, again, if you walked in and out, that's not what this is. This is sit-down restaurants. I specified, because if you walk in and out and you have $5, I mean, that's different. People, there's an argument to be had, and we can have that talk. But I'm talking about restaurants where you go in, you sit down, and you are served by a waiter or waitress. Let me read this one to you, and this is an absolute prick. So I took the wife out to dinner last night, and we have always talked about doing this. You put 5 singles on the table and at the beginning of dinner for the waiter or waitress to see. Don't say anything to them. If they mess up, you take $1 away, and so on. At the end of dinner, however much is left is their tip. I shit you not, you'll receive the best service of your life. The waitress kept looking at it as if she was confused. But she played her cards right, did a great job, and received the whole $5. I did take away $1 at one point, though, because she forgot the bread. But she bounced back and gave us extra. Ha ha. All in all, a great evening with my love, and a good dinner experiment we both wanted to see play out. Try it, you'd be surprised. Well, you fucking prick. My visual of you is that you're about 350 pounds and you went to somewhere where this poor waitress is probably serving you Applebee's or some shit, and you thought this was funny. $5 first off, you cheap ass. $5. Second off, this poor waitress is going to run around serving you, and if she takes a wrong step, you're going to pull $1 away? What a prick. That's karma. Karma will come and hit this guy, and if it hasn't already, and I hope it does. But these examples just pissed me off, and I don't know why I chose to talk about it tonight. Maybe it was the no tax on tips thing, and I think we needed to do that because they need help. I lived in a town that's a big foodie town that's pretty much how people, most of them were. I mean, the bartenders and waiters and waitresses, and fortunately, there was a town that understood that and appreciated and respected it. If you don't have money to tip or you don't want to tip, don't go somewhere where it's expected to tip. I'm telling that to you. It's not hard to go. There are plenty of places where you don't tip, where you don't have a waiter. Order food. Make your own, lazy ass. So that begs the question. And that's the question for tonight. And I'll give you my opinion, and we'll go from there. Should we have tipping in the United States or in Western cultures that do? A lot don't. Even the UK doesn't really. I lived in Scotland, as anybody that listens to the show knows, for a while, a couple of years, and it was very confusing. Some of them expected it, some of them didn't. It was very weird. I think some of them might because I was American. They're like, yes, and some included it. A lot of restaurants had it as a percentage charge, and a lot of them were priced a different way because they weren't expecting tips. So, what do you think? In the United States, should it be tipping? Because what happens is, and I did it. I only did it for about 3 months, bartended, and it was, you get $2.46 an hour, and that basically covers your taxes, and that's how much they pay you. And then it's all about tips. If you make nothing, you make nothing. And if you make $37 in a night and then you tip out the bar and the kitchen, and then you get yourself some dinner, you may easily leave with $15 for an entire shift. Now, granted, that's, maybe a mid-scale, lower-scale restaurant. I know there are plenty of restaurants where these guys bank. I get it. But should there be tips? So that's my point, is I think there should be, because I think it's an industry that needs to be driven by incentive. If you are a great waitress and you handle things well, then I think people should want to tip you higher. Plus, your work won't unintentionally suffer, your work ethic. You're not going to all of a sudden kind of get lazy because you know exactly what your paycheck's going to have. If you have a day where you're just, I don't feel like dealing with these people, unfortunately, you're in an industry where you can't really do that. Should you be able to? Should waiters and waitresses be making a salary so that they don't have that everyday, oh shit, I've got to do this perfectly mindset? I think that restaurants hire a ton of people to put on their staff. Hell, I may still be on that from 25 years ago. They just don't delete them in case you want to pick up a shift. You're part of the system and you go in there, and they just don't put people on the schedule. I mean, I know that for a fact. A place could have 50 waiters on their not payroll, because they're not going to pay you if you're not working, but on their list, on their staff, and only 8 to 12 of them may be regulars, but that's what they do because they're able to do that, because they're not paying you anything. If you work, you're making tips, and if you do work, they're paying you $2 and something an hour. So would people lose jobs if all of a sudden restaurants were required to pay everybody on their payroll minimum wage, especially if minimum wage became 15 something an hour? All of a sudden restaurants aren't going to staff this many people. People won't be able to use it as part-time work. People won't be able to use it here. People won't use it here. And then does quality of service, go down? I'm not going to lie. If I go to dinner, I'd like to have good quality of service and not have it too slow. And I mean, anybody would. Does all of a sudden do all those things go down now because it's just a given and there's no incentive to be great? It's similar to the talk about education and prosperity in this country. People need incentive. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You need rewarded for good work. And how are you rewarded for good work in this food industry, bar industry, if everybody makes exactly the same, regardless of how good a job you do? So that's my thought on it. And I want these people treated better. And I may overtip. Maybe I make up for these people, but don't be an asshole. I mean, if you can't leave a lot, leave the best you can and, move on, and that's fine. But if you're going to be an asshole about it, then come on. Like I said, you'll get yours, and if I ever see it, I'll probably say something, and maybe it's not worth it. But that was just an interesting topic. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section or wherever, if you think tipping should be a thing in the United States beyond waiting tables in bartending. And what about other industries where tips are involved? And a lot of people are getting frustrated because every time they flip that little credit card thing around, it's saying, how much do you want to tip? When all they did is basically ring up your bottle of water. So, maybe we're going too far with that. But people that are making tips for their livelihood at a restaurant and working their ass off, and they do, deserve your respect. So maybe stay home next time if you don't plan on tipping. All right. Let's move on. That's pretty much it for tonight, honestly, and a little of everything. I think the January 6th thing was the big one, and then, of course, this issue about tipping. I like, a couple of those stories, and the animal. I was most fascinated by the longevity of life of some of these animals. And 5 minutes? This chick has 5 minutes to get laid. Goodness. Hopefully she's hot. But again, no foreplay, so got to get right to it. I just feel like I hit a couple of topics recently pretty heavy, religion and all of these Twitter and Elon and Trump and this, and I know that this was about January 6th, but it needed to be said. Today is January 6th. This is releasing tomorrow on January the 7th. So, if you're thinking about January 6th, really think about what I said. It would be a lot grander of an event if people were behind it, specifically Donald Trump. You think that man's going to go in there and just not have guns a-blazing if that's what he really wanted to do? He doesn't want to do that. He's not the guy you're making him out to be. He's not infallible. We know. He says and does some stuff. But how perfect are you? You know, nobody is. So get over it. You're not under the microscope. He is. I get that. But move on from the January 6th thing, and let's have a good transfer of power here on the 20th and look forward to see what he's doing. And I'm watching him. I'll call him out. I'll watch and make sure, and don't think he's getting a free pass. And that's what a lot of lefties think, is that you get a free pass when you're a Trump voter. And that's not true. So, as usual, like and subscribe. I think the next show I'm going to have some guests. Maybe not the next show, but the show after that, I'll have some guests, and we're going to have some really good debate and some really good conversation. My goal is to bring somebody in that's not completely like-minded to me and show you guys how to have a conversation like an adult. And that's my goal. So I look forward to doing that. And look forward to the new format of the show coming up and things we're going to be doing to make it better, and getting rid of the headlines that made it through editing is one of those things. So I'm listening. I'm listening to the feedback. Keep it coming. I do this for you. See you next time. Love you guys. You know what? Don't stop it there. I forgot my quote. And this is a funny one, so let's end it on a good note. You know, especially for the Mayfly that lasts 5 minutes. This one just simple. Save water. Shower with your girlfriend. Which leads to another good poll question. Do you like to shower with your spouse? Think about that. We'll talk about it later. Love you guys.